I initially had invited, thought I'd have 10 people that wanted to play with me, and now I ended up with 19. So we have 19 different artists that are represented here from a wide range of backgrounds. We have art quilters, we have traditional quilters, we have hand quilters, we have people that had never quilted before the project started.
Wow.
That's impressive. Yeah. So what we have here are two of the sets. Over on this side of the room, the block that's here, the double fan that's here on the piano, each of my artists got this particular block. And we're told that they needed to incorporate that block into a 24 by 24 inch quilt. Other than that, there were no rules. They could cut the block up, they could keep it intact, they could recreate it, they could use parts of it, but to use that block as inspiration and part of the 24 by 24 inch quilt. The only other rule I had was that it be fun, that they have fun, that they enjoy it. I didn't want this to be a stressful endeavor. Some of them impose stress on their own self, but I didn't want to be responsible for some of that. So you can see we have a wide range of interpretations of that same block. On this side of the room, we have a yellow and white, it's called a number of different things, but churn dash, monkey wrench, hole in the barn door, yellow and white block from about 1940. Each of them got this particular block, and these are the quilts on this side that they came up with using that particular block. In addition, I felt that since we were using orphan blocks, there should be no orphans left. So because I had plenty of time and nothing else to do, I made a 20th quilt to go with each of these sets of the leftover blocks. We had 12 blocks left from the churn dash. They range in size from 7 3/4 to 10 1/2 inches. She had, yes, her skills were a little off. So that's called a crooked barn, and I did not remake any of those. You can see that most of them have the corners lopped off, equally wonky. This one I had 16 blocks left. You can see what the initial maker intended the blocks to look like. They were heavily damaged in terms of they were stained, age spots. So this was tea-dyed after it was made, and it still has some of the staining evident in there. But that's called Circle the Wagons. I was so blessed to work with this group of ladies because they encouraged me, they encouraged each other, they were able to use their individual voices to make part of a very unique challenge. We thought that we would show a couple of places locally, maybe do a magazine article, and what we have come up with is a collection of quilts that has traveled from California to Florida to Maine, and will be traveling through 2014. It is phenomenal. There is a book that's coming out in April called The Quilt Block Challenge, Vintage Revisited. I thought I would have copies to sell here today. They're teaching me patience. It's not here yet. But I can sell advance copies. They're $24.95. If you purchase them today, I'll waive the shipping and send it to you as soon as they get here. A couple of stories that I told about these particular quilts appear on the top right. This is a quilt by an artist named Paula Golden. Paula teaches widely. During the time frame that we were working on this project, she was also getting her Master's of Fine Arts from Virginia Commonwealth University. And Paula thinks too much about some of these things. So she was at an auction and she bought a sewing basket, a women's sewing basket. She had no idea who the basket came, where it came from, or who it had belonged to, but she felt it was all that was left of this woman. Well, she wanted to incorporate that into her quilt. But what was in this basket? The basket was full of bra extenders.
Oh, that's funny!
All of those little white things on the quilt are various types of bra extenders. That Paula put into her quilt. I mean, who would have thought that? Exactly. That we would do that. Many of my artists did use vintage pieces in their, not only vintage fabrics, but vintage artifacts. Judy Gula up here, the top left, she used vintage linen in each of her pieces. Lots of the circles that are on there are the milk pogs that used to go in the neck of the milk bottle. lots of, different buttons and embellishments. Several of my, I said I only had a few rules. Some of them imposed their own rules. Judy chose that she was going to use vintage fabrics in everything. I mean, vintage linen in each of her projects. Barb Garrett, who's at the center top over here, and then the bottom right over here, only chose to use vintage fabrics. So all of this is period appropriate fabrics for her particular quilt. Jane Miller, who has the beach balls here, down here on the bottom right, and up here on the top left, felt she was not comfortable cutting up another woman's work. So she chose to keep that block intact. And so all of her quilts incorporate the original block as she received it. But there's a wide range of options, a wide range of things here. It's a wonderful project, and it's a wonderful challenge for a guild, for a group of diverse friends, because everybody can participate with their own voice. And it's just been a fun one to share, and a fun one to travel with. So I can answer any questions.
Was the book comprised, was these two were the only fabrics you've done this with?
No, we did 6 sets. Last year here at Bullock Hall, they had the first 2 sets. And this year we have these 2, and then hopefully next year you'll have the following 2. But the book has all 6 sets, all 117 quilts. It also has biographical sketches of each of the artists with a timeline of their particular quilts. It also has lots of their voices, quotes that we've done. I've said frequently, a group of women is always wonderfully supportive, and they will tell you all kinds of wonderful things, but they'll complain while they're doing it. So we have all kinds of voices coming from, when, whether they liked something or whether they didn't, or the encouragement from each other. Now, these ladies only had one thing in common when we started, and that was that they knew me. And so that's a sad state. But they've come together to form this collection. We've never had all of us in one spot. We've never had all of the artists together.
Are you all from the Atlanta area?
I grew up in Athens. I am from Northern Virginia, just outside of D.C. We have one of our participants lives just outside of Augusta. Doris Blimmer did this one over here called Thinking of Betsy. And then this one over here called By the Lake. Doris, the summer that she did Thinking of Betsy, she became an American citizen. She was an Army wife for 26 years, but a native of Germany. And so that was her patriotic version. When Doris first started, she's a longtime quilter. She does beautiful, beautiful hand quilting. But she had said she'd never made a quilt without a pattern before. And I think she's kind of found her voice and does some beautiful work. But the quilters, many of them are from the Northern Virginia area, but I have one friend is in Missouri, there's several New England ladies, all up and down the East Coast at the moment.
It's such a great exhibit.
Oh, well, thank you.
Last year was so enjoyable.
Thank you.
So what did you do